economic activity across all three main industry groupings. Growth in the Namibian economy accelerated, and that's the latest figure we received this morning. It accelerated to 4.6% in 2022 from 3.5% in 2021. During 2022, primary industry was buoyant, chiefly supported by a significant increase in the production of diamonds due to additional production brought about by the new diamond recovery vessel. If you look at domestic economy outlook and the key risks, we expect a slowdown in 2023 to around 3% from the 4.6% that we see in 2022, and also to around 2.9% in 2024, largely to a weaker global demand. And there are some risks to that forecast that we have got. The first one is monetary policy tightening globally. We continue to experience water supply constraints along the coast. We've got high cost of key import items and the effects of climate change. Some people are saying, given the rain that we've received so far, we could probably have some drought in the country. And another risk that we could have, that we hear, is the potential spillover of electricity cuts in South Africa to Namibia. We can see that already in the livestock that's being marketed to South Africa and the prices that weaners and cattle are currently fetching. We can also see in the latest inflation numbers that came out in January, our inflation was around 7% and it came to 7.2% at the end of February. So electricity plays a big role, and you can see that real producers are passing this on to the consumers in South Africa. And because of load shedding, you can start seeing the effect of that coming through in our economy. The bank's monetary policy committee tightened its monetary policy stepwise throughout 2022, mainly aimed at anchoring inflation expectations and safeguarding the one-to-one link to the South African rand, while providing support to the domestic economy to the extent possible. So the Bank of Namibia has increased rates by about 300 basis points in 2022. If we look at the growth in private sector credit extension, that rose to an average annual rate of about 3.6% in 2022 from an annual average rate of 2.4% recorded in 2021. The moderate improvement in year-on-year growth in private sector credit extension during 2022 was due to the increased demand for credit by businesses, particularly corporates in the mining, transport, and the services sector. The relief measures that were introduced at the height of the pandemic in 2020 were extended in 2022 to continue providing relief to economic sectors that were still in distress. Central government budget deficit as percentage of gross domestic product for 2022-2023 fiscal year was revised downwards by 0.1 percentage point to 5.2% of gross domestic product from the 5.3% initially estimated in the October 2022 mid-year budget, owing to an increase in revenue. The debt stock level of central government rose over the year to the end of December 2022, driven mainly by a rise in domestic debt. And you'll see that in 2022, if you look at central government debt, as a percentage of gross domestic product, when the minister was talking, it was around 70%. It's down to about 65.9, or I would call it more 66%. Because gross domestic product has been revised upwards now by NSA. So that's why you see that number not at 70%, but at 65.9%. If you look at the current account balance deficit relative to gross domestic product, that is whitened. It's quite quite clear that you could see that both in 2021 and 2022 that it is widened compared to a deficit of 9.9% or 18.3 billion recorded in 2021. This was ascribed mainly to a deterioration of the merchandise trade deficit due to an increase in imports. But our capital account actually is, you could see, apologies. You could see what happened to the capital account is that we've got some inflows, FDI inflows, you could clearly pick up. In 2021, we had about 10, and in 2022, projected about 15.3. So the stock of international reserves rose on an annual basis by about 8.4% to settle at 47.6 billion at the end of December 2022, partly due to capital inflows from foreign asset swaps arrangements and African Development Bank loan and revaluation gains. If we look at our financial system in the country, we can see that the Namibian financial system remains stable and sound and resilient enough to withstand elevated risk and vulnerabilities emanating from the global and domestic economic and financial environment. The banking sector remained profitable, liquid, and well capitalized. The non-banking financial institutions sector remained profitable and sufficiently capitalized, and the national payment system remained stable, effective, and efficient in 2021. So if we go back and look at the banking sector, it's strongly capitalized with a total eligible capital ratio of 17%, an expansion from the 15.9% reported in 2021. Both the total eligible capital ratio and the common equity tier 1 capital ratio are above the minimum regulatory requirements for DSIPs of 10% and 7% respectively. The banking sector balance sheet reported growth in total in 2020, while asset quality improved as the non-performing loans ratio fell. In line with economic recovery that boosted household and corporate income, non-performing loans declined, and the non-performing loans ratio to total loans declined to 5.6% at the end of 2022, lower than the 6.4% recorded a year early. This was a welcome improvement as the NPL ratio stood below the crisis trigger benchmark ratio of 6%, indicating that the quality of assets was satisfactory during 2022. Despite the improvement in this ratio during the latter part of 2022, the impact of inflationary pressures, interest rate adjustments, and slow economic recovery is still filtering through and is expected to negatively affect the ratio. That's the key parts that I wanted you to see on the presentation. Let me get back to my notes. Let me return to the operations of the bank. Since launching the bank's 3-year strategic plan, that 2022 to 2024, the bank has been on a journey to digitally transform the institution and drive the full modernization of our financial system. This will not only help restore economic growth and sustain economic development, but it will transform the lives of thousands of Namibians. During 2022, the bank invested in systems and platforms to support digitization for increased operational efficiency. Some business units have already started reaping the benefits of enhanced efficiency due to digitalization and automation of business processes. Furthermore, the bank started exploring the opportunities central bank digital currencies present in achieving financial inclusion objectives. Consultations with relevant stakeholders in this regard have begun and will gain further traction during this year. The bank is doing groundbreaking work in advancing financial inclusion through an instant payment solution, enabling efficient, cost-effective, and instant real payments, which, if implemented, will be a game changer in the payments ecosystem. Ladies and gentlemen, the Bank of Namibia puts purpose above profits. The price and financial stability mandate of the bank is paramount. We cannot keep interest rates low in the face of high inflation to preserve low funding for the public sector or increase rates to generate profits. Such actions would be inappropriate. It will violate the mandate of the bank and destabilize the economy. That said, I'm glad to announce that the Bank of Namibia will pay the government of the Republic of Namibia a dividend of 413,700,000 Namibian dollars, 413.7 million Namibian dollars. The bank's operating profit increased by 11.5% from 584.2 million in 2021 to 651.2 million in 2022. Therefore, the reserves available for distribution increased year on year from 672 million in 2021 to 772 million in 2022. This makes it possible for the bank to declare a dividend that will be put to good use in much needed areas as we rewire the country and bolster resilience. Looking to the future, Namibia must continue to safeguard its financial integrity that is hailed as one of the best on the African continent by safeguarding its institutions. For this reason, Namibia cannot afford to fail the test regarding the mutual evaluation exercise, which assesses the effectiveness of our anti-money laundering and combating the financing of terrorism and proliferation framework. As you recall, last year the country underwent the second peer review and mutual evaluation exercise as part of the Financial Action Task Force framework. Efforts are being made to meet deadlines to keep the country from being grey-listed after the current 12-month monitoring period expires. And this is where our strong institutions must play a decisive role in delivering on their mandate to contribute to stability, mitigate and avoid risk in order to preserve the integrity of our financial system. Thus far, Namibia has shown significant political commitment to meeting the FATF requirements. The Cabinet of the Republic of Namibia has directed institutions and stakeholders to implement an action plan adopted in December 2022. Proposed legislative changes have been made and public consultations on the gaps in relevant laws have been finalized. Law enforcement agencies are working non-stop to reduce the risk of the targeted review. On all these fronts, we must demonstrate serious commitment and action before submitting the post-evaluation progress review report in the middle of this year. Indeed, with this national exercise, the strength of our institutions is being tested, and we all need to work together if we want to come out of these uncharted waters with the sound reputation of our financial system intact. A boat cannot go forward if each rower rows in his or her own direction. At this juncture, I would like to wholeheartedly thank the board of the Bank of Namibia, the staff, and our valued stakeholders for their role in the bank's ability to deliver on its mandate despite a challenging climate. I would also like to acknowledge and single out the editorial committee under the leadership of Deputy Governor Nguanguta, who had sleepless nights ensuring this annual report is produced on time, a task that we have never failed to deliver on since the establishment of the Central Bank of Namibia. I would like to leave you with wisdom from an African proverb. The world is not ours. The earth is not ours. Its treasures we hold in trust for future generations. While I hope that we will be worthy of that trust, at the same time, I ask my fellow countrymen to commit to making a positive contribution towards building this great nation. We have taken measured steps in 2022 to rewire and bolster Namibia's resilience, and will continue doing so with all our energy. We have supported our enterprises to recover fully from the pandemic because they are the engines of our growth. We have assisted households weather the storm by ensuring relief measures are extended. We have advanced the intergenerational agenda by bequeathing a better future with the Welwitschia Fund. We have reached the point that we can leverage our national endowments to improve the quality of life of our people. The Bank of Namibia stands ready and is committed to delivering monetary, price, and financial stability, and is committed to providing practical advice on implementing structural reforms, improving fiscal sustainability, and accelerating Namibia's recovery to sustainable growth in this year of revival. I'm confident that collectively we can make Namibia one of the greatest nations on the African continent and beyond. This is the legacy that we must leave for the future generations. Thank you for listening. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Governor. Before we officially invite you back to launch the report, as we said, the theme of our report is rewiring Namibia to bolster resilience. For the period under review, we continue to assist Namibians in various ways where we could as an institution. This is born out of a realization that government alone cannot attend to all of the needs. And in this upcoming video, we have prepared a highlight package of how the central bank has helped Namibians across the breadth and the length of our beautiful country as we recovered from a once-in-a-lifetime event, as we build that necessary resilience to face future events head-on. Let's watch this video.
Over the past 2 years, the Bank of Namibia has been diligently and intentionally investing into Namibian citizens by implementing corporate social investment responsibility initiatives across the country, even during the most tumultuous period. Guided by its very own corporate social investment and responsibility policy, the Bank of Namibia